All right, let's dive right into the 2025 Cambodian-Thai crisis. Now, what we're looking at here is way more than just a simple border skirmish. It's a fascinating modern-day case study of how ancient temples and old colonial maps can literally spark a conflict that displaces hundreds of thousands of people and even pulls in global superpowers. So let's break it all down.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the spark that really lit the fuse. Then we'll dig into the deep, century-long history behind it all. After that, we'll walk through the 4 days of really intense fighting, see how the world stepped in to broker peace, and finally, and this is key, we'll connect it all back to why this is so important for India.
You know how they say every fire starts with a spark? Well, what was the trigger here? Let's trace the chain of events in 2025 that took this long simmering dispute and just turned it into a full-blown crisis. This number right here, over 200,000, this tells you everything you need to know about the human cost of this conflict. That's how many people had to flee their homes in just a matter of days. This wasn't just some political spat, it became a massive humanitarian emergency fast. You can see right here how things just spiraled out of control. It wasn't one big explosion. It was more like a slow burn. It starts with a single death in May, then you have this tit-for-tat border closure in June. But that landmine incident on July 23rd, that was the tipping point. That's what catapulted both countries into open warfare literally just 24 hours later. You know, conflicts like this don't just happen overnight. To really get why this happened, we've got to rewind way back and look at over 100 years of contested history, confusing colonial-era maps, and some really powerful national symbols. And right at the heart of it all, I mean the absolute core of this dispute, is the Preah Vihear temple. This isn't just about a piece of land, it's about national heritage. We're talking about a UNESCO World Heritage Site perched on this dramatic clifftop. For both Cambodia and Thailand, it's a huge symbol of national pride and identity. So here are the historical fault lines. It all kicks off with a colonial treaty back in 1907 that kind of favored Cambodia. Then, in 1962, a major court ruling gives the temple itself to Cambodia, but, and this is the crucial part, it left the land around the temple completely undefined. And that right there, that legal gray area, that's the fuel for the fire that led to earlier clashes and set the stage perfectly for this 2025 crisis. Okay, for all you exam aspirants out there, listen up. This slide is pure gold. These are the geographical hotspots you absolutely need to know. You've got the Emerald Triangle, where that first shot was fired. You have the other disputed temples, like Tam Yuan Thom, the Chong An Ma Pass, a really strategic point of conflict, and of course Ubon, Ratchathani, where the landmine went off. These are the names that define the map of this whole conflict. So let's get into the conflict itself. From July 24th to 27th, this whole thing just completely exploded. The border became an active war zone, with heavy artillery, airstrikes, and ground troops all involved. Let's break down these 4 days. So day 1, July 24th, boom. Thai airstrikes hit after they claimed Cambodia fired rockets at them. The next day, it turns into this massive blame game, with both sides accusing the other of targeting civilians. By the 26th, the fighting spreads, Thailand claims a key victory, but Cambodia suffers a huge loss with the death of a general. The fighting was just incredibly fierce, right up to the very end.
You know, to really understand this, you gotta look at the two completely different stories being told. They were basically mirror images of each other. Cambodia said it was self-defense, Thailand said it was retaliation. Cambodia accused them of using cluster bombs, Thailand accused them of bombing hospitals. It just shows that a fierce information war was being fought right alongside the real one.
All right, here's a little exam hack for you. The 3 key temples you need to remember are Tam Yuan Thom, Tak Rabe, and Preah Vihear. So how do you remember them? Try this. 3 monuments, thousands of kilometers of pain and violence. It's a simple way to link the initials TM, TK, and PV directly to what the conflict was all about. So, with the fighting spiraling and casualties climbing, the world basically had to step in. It just couldn't stand by and watch. Let's see how regional and global powers reacted to try and pull these two nations back from the brink. So, first on the scene, you have the regional players. Malaysia was chairing ASEAN at the time, and they immediately jumped in. The message from Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim was super clear. Stop the fighting, start talking. It really shows you that ASEAN is meant to be the first responder for conflicts in Southeast Asia. But hey, it wasn't just the neighbors getting involved. The big global powers got on the phone too. The US President, Donald Trump, got directly involved, making personal calls to both leaders to push hard for a ceasefire. It's a perfect example of the kind of influence that major world powers can bring to a regional conflict.
And this is where it gets really sobering. The human cost. These are the official numbers that each side reported after just 4 days of fighting. And while you can debate the exact figures, they both paint a tragic picture. Dozens of lives lost, with a heartbreaking number of civilians caught right in the middle of it all.
So the big question is, how do you actually stop a war? Well, in this case, it took some serious high-stakes diplomacy to pull everyone back from the edge and get them to the negotiating table.
And this is what they came up with, the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords. Now, this wasn't just a simple, okay, we'll stop shooting agreement. This thing was a full-on roadmap. It covered everything from pulling back heavy weapons and setting up monitors to really practical steps, like clearing landmines and releasing prisoners of war. It was a comprehensive plan.
Okay, let's connect all the dots and bring this back home. Why does any of this matter to an exam aspirant sitting in India? What are the strategic takeaways for us?
The thing is, for India, this isn't some distant conflict. It's a living, breathing case study with direct implications. I mean, it rocks the stability of a region that's absolutely vital to our Act East policy. It puts ASEAN's effectiveness to the test. It shows the diplomatic tug-of-war between the US and China playing out in real time. And maybe most importantly, it's like looking in a mirror. It shows us how history and nationalism can blow up border disputes, something we know a thing or two about.
Now, this is where you can score some serious points in your exams, by doing a comparative analysis. Let's just quickly contrast these conflicts. The origins, French colonial treaties versus the partition of British India. The focal point, a single cultural site versus an entire territory. And the mediation, you have ASEAN and the US stepping in here versus mostly bilateral talks and UN resolutions on our side. Understanding these differences is absolutely key.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. The Kuala Lumpur Accords, they were great. They stopped the shooting. But all those deep-rooted issues, the history, the territory, the national pride, they're all still there, which leaves us with a really big question. Can a piece of paper truly build lasting peace, or did it just press pause on a conflict that's destined to erupt all over again?